But it's possible to speak about the role of the state in the ancient history too. Generally speaking, we can say that if a highly organized society integrated into one empire, and one of the integrative forces of this empire is the educational system, or the common culture of the elite, which was originally very multicultural, is the second or another integrative forces. So in that cases, the educational system, which was originally determined by the local needs and offers, and determined originally by the local balance of powers or local religious situation. So in that cases, it became a state effort. And the state effort, in its nature, a kind of political question, political affairs. Something similar happened in the Assyrian Empire, when the library of Nineveh, central collection, determined and organized the curriculum of the far schools. I mean far in regional meaning, geographical meaning, but don't go so far. It's enough if we speak about the commonplace, what's happened with the ancient Greeks. The Greek peninsula had a special relation of the politics and education in the time of Macedonian conquest. Aristotle, who in that time the leader of the most important school of the empire, thinks so that not the education, not the moral education, okay, I start this moment again. So Aristotle thought that the target of the school is not the moral education, which adequate for a political regime supported by the educationalist or philosopher, but the politics, the constitution, the constitutional system created the target. I mean the target of the moral education. What kind of citizen is needed by the state? the citizen who sent his son to the school, interested in to be happy in the given system, state-given system. Aristotle brought the only logical consequence of the laws of political state. And this is, I quote, the state has only one state. The state has a common state for the whole citizens, and it means that the target of the education is the same for every citizen. It means that the education belongs to legislation and public place. There is no place for both aristocracy or there is no any mystical relation with the words of ideas, which was taught by Plato originally. So there is no place for that things and education. Everything which is knowledge, you can teach and you can learn that. The ancestor states of the empire, which had several people, and has only one integrative forces, and that's the Hellenistic culture. The new empire ideology dictates that the Hellenes is given not by origin, not by blood, but the culture. This ideology made possible to mixture with the old non-Hellene, non-Greek elites. The Hellenistic culture was taught in the school, and it was ordered by the state policy and state law. The other absolutely new element that originally in the pre-Hellenic Hellas, pre-Hellenic Greek towns, the different philosophical groups or philosophical professors or scientists created one philosophical school for himself. So, in that time, if you want to learn different things, different philosophical opinions, you have to finish different schools, more schools. And now, in the Hellenistic period, the Egyptian, Macedonian rulers created the great Hellenistic university, the Museum. It happened in 322 before Christ. The museum was led by a university leader And this university leader has a job for this position. In this, he was not a philosopher, he was a leader of the university. In this museum, more philosophical department for more philosophical ideas, they compete to each other. The professors was pointed out by the kings, by the rulers. They got high salary, good possibilities for research, and some social preferences. The other Hellenistic empire, which was in a kind of rival state, so the states rivaled each other, and in this rivalization they created scientific centers. The Pergamon Scientific Center transferred this culture toward Rome later. The Antiochian Center transferred this culture toward India. Later, this tradition interrupted. In this meaning, Rome don't build a united educational system, and the religious moral instruction, which became step by step a kind of system, it's not a state or a town level case, but it was supervised by the bishops. We can see that when the continuity of the Roman state disrupt, the continuity of the bishopnesses remain. These bishop centers, bishop circles in the territory of German, French, Italian territories are older institutions than any medieval state which was created later. Perhaps this special ancientry, the thing that the bishop territory is older than the state states. So from that reason, we can describe that in the historiography, the education code as a case of church, an inner case of the church, or case or a phenomenon which was controlled partly by the state only in the 17th and 18th century. The educational historians declare that the pre-18th century education is a social case, not a state case. And the the church-maintained education is a kind of private activity. The history of education and sociological in education in West Europe collected a lot material to support this opinion. There is two groups of phenomena, practically two periods, what we can call against this opinion, which we call against the opinion that the education is a kind of self-managed, the church education, a kind of self-managed, non-state-managed thing in West Europe. One of this element, one of this group of phenomenon. Then the contrary the fact that the system of church older than the state, but the roots of European education belong to the Frankish policy from the 8th century. This policy, this state policy, Frankish state policy, declared that the different level of the church administration have to create and manage the schools of bishop level and schools of local parish level. A king's order from 789 dictate that in the Benedictine cloisters you are not allowed to thinking, baptize and work, but you have to teach and learn and study too. The second group of argumentation, that's in the 12th and 13th century, in that time that was great theological debates in the universities. But on the background of the states, there are debates concerning the conflict of the emperor and pope. Later, collective decisions of church contra papacy, and at last the national state contra universalism as ideology. The theologists and university professors who conflicted with the Pope and the local bishops, so these persons were supported and stayed by politicians and rulers. The famous names come from Occam and its go to Marsilius, and at last Luther. These theological debates have important elements which belong to the knowledge itself, the culture itself, the policy itself, and the law itself. So, and these debates and this curriculum don't reach only to real university students, but the younger ones, the complete group of students who were older than 15. So, this huge group of students was influenced by these educational questions and by these curriculum questions. So they were influenced by the state policy concerning these questions. But at last, we can accept the fact that in West Europe, the management of religious instructions, the church maintained schools. Between the 9th and 13th century was a kind of autark system, so it was not influenced very intensively by the outside political forces. The state, which go down to the feudal anarchy, don't destroy the education itself. We can accept that in the post-13th century, the differentiation of the church government, the church influenced the society colorfulness, and the strong citizenship, strong bourgeoisie, which supported one or other church group, helped the independency of this educational system, and this force is guaranteed practically till to the 17th and 18th century, that it was not necessary state influence to education. State, if it stepped into the arena, remained only one of the forces. In the second place, or second part of this lecture, we would like to argue that in Hungary, in the Hungarian education, the role of the state much bigger than in Western Europe. It's question linked at first to fact that the Hungarian state was a kind of latecomer comparing to West Europe. As you know, the creation of the feudal state in Hungary has happened only 1001, some 100 years later than the West European ones. And later we will find other reasons which make the role of state bigger than in West Europe. There is in Europe a kind of duality of the monasterial orders maintained the school and bishop maintained the schools, and the role of state in the role of West European state. In the two systems, naturally not similar, or at least we can say it's not the same. In Hungary, both systems influenced much more intensively by the state than the public opinion in the history of education thinks so. Perhaps my argumentation brought an output that some other latecomer, for example in Polish territories or Baltic territories, there is a bigger role of the state comparing to West Europe, but we haven't collected data to support this opinion. So, in the second part of the lecture, at first I will speak about the tools of the state.